Guggenheim Manifesto. Introduction. This started in 2007. Well, it always starts longer than that, but with what they call being awake was around that time. I was in the bed of my truck, going over my troubles. I was noticing the stars, and how if you sit still long enough, you actually notice that we are moving through space. How small we are. And then I closed my eyes and asked for guidance. I was responded to by the Divine Spirit. Work, grow, open your eyes. And I did open my eyes. Since then, I have been through quite a humbling experience that has taken much growth and work. There are many things in the world that are out to get you. Just as if you were a little bird, grazing the grass seeds in an open field. You are looking for your desires and goals, meanwhile there are predators out to devour you in your ways. If they are not targeting you for attack, then they are studying you. We are not as alone as one might think. There are a lot of us, and yet, we all seem to be watched. Some that watch us are there to hurt us, or simply misguide us. Yet, others are actually there watching out for us, from behind the curtain. Chapter 1. A little about me. I started looking into a lot of things I had been seeing on the History Channel. I had previously gotten a bit obsessed with pachinko machines. I had created my own alter ego as Pachinko Machine on MySpace. I had made a lot of friends, and had gotten it out of my system. You can probably still find my old page on the internet. I am also influenced by my firstborn son and his brother, Riley and Tommy. Riley would tell me about the Great Flood, before I had told him anything on the subject. He actually had told me the story of the 7 kings and 7 daughters. How they had left during the flood, and after it was over, they found an 8th king on shore. As Riley was telling me the story, I wrote it down. At the same time, there was a special on History Channel playing in the other room. From my seat, I could see it and hear it, but Riley could not. The show was discussing a large meteor hitting the earth and such. Then Riley explained this about the flood. It was eerie and uncanny how he had it down. He also told me of dinosaurs that had survived in the desert. He swears that we will one day find their bones there, and learn. Riley used to tell us stories of how he was a native in an old life. He was 15 when he died. He had traveled, had no home, and had no mother, no family. He hunted predators for villages. He was repaid in food and shelter on his stays. He had a rule of only killing beasts on Thursdays. He came across a tiger one day, it was ready, and he was ready. Although it was a Saturday, he broke his rule to do battle with this large cat. So they fought. The tiger clawed him, as Riley/native stabbed his spear into the cat. They both died. Tommy has always been a bit cat-like. He shows many quirky characteristics of a feline. He meowed at birth. Even the doctor remarked this. And as soon as he saw his older brother, Tommy gave him a look of deep content and seriousness. A newborn, mind you. Rather later, Tommy had come into our room and told us a dream where he remembered having claws. He was a tiger. He had claws. Like this. As he crinkled his hands and slashed the air repeatedly. I became curious and more curious of the unexplained. My own past and my wife's past have also had many unexplained peculiarities. My wife and I had always experienced firsthand or through credible sources and family the kind of thing people like to call unexplained, or paranormal. One of these simply being the house, or land rather, that her relatives lived in Georgia, around Atlanta. It has always been a dead zone for cell phones. It has had entities around. There have been many witnesses to strange occurrences and sometimes very threatening ones. We have seen what is best described to the popular collective as ghosts, UFOs, aliens, demons and other paranormal activities. We had also experienced childbearing, poverty, wealth, education and started to notice a true divide in the haves and have-nots. This would be our base of knowledge for the next couple years. We have always been kind of keen to what I have recently heard of as the world system. It is how we are all influenced and somewhat programmed to accept. There is much in pop culture, and much in music. We all know politics can be quite simply put as corrupt. Parents have strayed from family life, and children have gotten more used to TV, dinner-type lifestyles. So, on that, we already knew there was something in the air. Chapter 2, What's all this about 2012? So as I started to watch the History Channel more, I also began looking at lots of internet videos and reading a lot of information on all sorts of things, from the Great Flood story around the world to supposed aliens in Brazil. I studied Do We Nazi technology and Cold War Russian technology. I studied up on Florida's own Coral Castle, built by Ed Leedskalnin. I studied magnetism. I studied government history and intelligence. I began to get really interested in this whole 2012 doomsday theory, mostly because it was to be on my birthday. I got on forums to discuss with people the thoughts and fears of an Armageddon. Many people were quite afraid and ready to stockpile food. I seemed to stand out to some as a positive thought in a panic room. A friend of mine simply called 2012 Greg told me to start the MySpace page for my info and thoughts. He thought I should share my view with more people. Since I was already accustomed to this format, I did. I had also made a ramshackle web page for my interest. Yes, it is crazy.co.nr. I became another anonymous alter ego. The 2012 page. The whole 2012 phenomenon has been concluded to pronounce the end of this age or the end of the world as we know it. To that, I still agree in premise. But once into the counterculture of 2012, you start to run into the entire conspiracy theory rhetoric. Finally, I ended up leaving my alter ego as the 2012 page, but changing gears towards the New World Order phenomenon and counterculture. Once immersed in this, I spent weeks researching, debating, writing, more researching, and most of the time, becoming paranoid. I used to sign things. Peace. Then I began to think that this was a rhetoric applied to One World supporters. I became quite on One World. I changed my signature to Peace of Mind. That is what I wanted, and I could tell that is what others wanted. I tried to hear the complaints, fears, facts, and speculations. It became a full-time job to do this. I had 500 friends in 1 month without trying. I was trying to stay connected with all of them and their ideas. Once fully into the scene, I became a person who was asked a lot of questions. They made me reflect inward before responding. The whole trip became a sort of personal growth through the new knowledge. I had to work quite hard to keep myself collected and not go off the deep end. I had people from all walks of life connecting with me via the World Wide Web. Knowledge was ever increasing and abound. There were people that were of all religions, including Satanists, New Agers, Christians of all sorts, atheists and so on. There were many people from different political backgrounds. As well, there were people with different mental conditions, states, and dependencies. This became my personal venting station, my own platform, and in many cases, my personal human experiment. I was able to see how this world system had played out in so many different people, and how they reacted when they were awake to the influences they had ingrained in them. Chapter 3, Is there a connection? I became quite engulfed in research. I researched all things that spiked my interest. I started looking into cults, occult, magic, politics, war, history, bloodlines, UFOs, CIA, human reality, existentialism, ego, God, Satan, elite powers, corporations, secret societies, subliminal influence, pop culture, conspiracy theories, ancient history, civilizations, evolution, religion, lobotomies, medication, municipalities, governments, New World Order agenda, humanitarianism, and basically an ideology I came across. There came times when I vehemently disagreed with people and times when discussions turned into arguments. I had to recollect myself. I talked about deep things with people that claimed to be spiritually knowledgeable, people that claimed godliness, secret knowledge, powers, power, people with reasons to shut me down, people that wanted to warn me, people that wanted to watch me and learn from me. I ended up having a lot of my assumptions verified by people that did not want me to continue voicing my thoughts. Heather and I had come to a lot of conclusions. We researched things together a lot. We knew that there seemed to be some ulterior motive to most things that you see on television or hear on radio or read on large websites. We had been validated many times by research. One example would be the Kellogg Company and its connections and purposes. Heather had watched a movie on late one night a few years back. It was about the Kellogg brothers. One ran the mental asylum, and is to claim the success of the cornflakes they invented. Brainwashing has become a coined term that is rarely used in a serious manner in conversation of in media. It has become a joke, or at least a far cry from reality to most. One night, soon after hearing much to do about the new digital television switchover from the old analog airwaves, we had some interesting experiences. The bill passed by the government for this nationwide switchover was credited to Rockefeller. There are many topics concerning this family and other elites. Chapter 4, The Real Problem. They say it's the squeaky wheel that gets the grease. In this American society, it seems to be that we are lied to about there even being a squeaky wheel. And we are distracted. Or maybe we are told that it is us that are squeaky. Grease yourself. We are divided across many lines. We have become detached from the society of our ancestors. Our forefathers did not work so hard to have us go and work as hard once again, just to pay a mortgage. We are to have the American dream. But once again, who is the squeaky wheel? Not those that market to us. No, it's us. We are told we are broken. Always distracting from the actual wheel. Chapter 5, The Truth. There are known truths, or certain truths. There are also knowns and unknowns. Humans are complex, yet operational. There are certain truths about us humans. There are those things that make us who we are. Those could be genetic or learned. We live a life. We behave independent for the most part. Many of us try to understand the way things are and what got them to that point. This curiosity includes each other, us humans. We are interested in how and why we are and do. What is it? You, me. Why are we? Who are we? We want to define things. We have an internal or primal set of behaviors. Most of those are genetic to our unique identities, humans. To define human can be a task, but we will just go ahead and say that we are all humans, and we know at least what we are called. To react to life, we either use genetic behaviors, or we reenact learned behaviors. Learned behavior could be from other humans or through personal experience. Many people feel as though they have already defined themselves. They know what kind of human they are. I am a strong person with good morals and a high-end job with a family, and overall successful. Or any multitude of other descriptives. We either have defined ourselves, or we have not. Those of you that have not, have done so for a particular reason, or accumulation of them. Those that have defined themselves would be the same. Some people are afraid to define themselves for various reasons, many assumed. Others have defined themselves simply because life experiences have led them to notice facts and organize the information. Many times people assume to have a definition, but are presenting a surreal descriptive. Either out of fantasy, or confusion, or broken behavior, I am sure you could add to that short list. Those that choose not to define themselves cannot grow. Those that have a surreal definition are growing in repetitive and maybe damaging behaviors. Growing would be the optimal goal here, as we as humans have natural and primal behaviors towards survival. Again, to survive and live a life, in the physical world that is very chaotic at times, we either use genetic behaviors or we reenact learned behaviors. Many problems are arising as humans because there is a large-scale fight for survival. Many people have a different descriptive and definition of survival. To understand each other and their goals is to help us learn and grow to survive. There are those of us adults that are ignorant, average or above average/smart. There are also those of us adults that are good, neutral or bad. And a sliding gray scale in between these categories. Some people are born good and smart. And as ignorant and corrupt/bad. Some ignorant people can be good, and then corrupted or chosen to behave badly. I could mix them all up. Good equals G, neutral equals N, bad equals B. And likewise, I, S. People could be any variation such as S plus B, I plus B, A plus N, and so on. One could change from one type to another through life and growing through experiences. If you are not growing positively, then you could be regressing, repeating, or just static/idle/null. If life is good, then you probably can grow healthily. Bad life could cause you to decide to grow, repeat or null/ignore. Chaos is uncontrolled. Things happen as we live a life. Yes, we can ignore them and be static/idle. We can also react in a way that worked, or did not work. If you define these events, then you can hopefully grow from that behavior. If we care to have a purpose in life, and assume that we are not trying to be idle, then we will want to define more things. I want to define some things. I feel that I am doing my best here. If we are to have purpose, we need to define ourselves. Are we functioning, have peace of mind, happy? Is everything in order? We need to define goals to obtain what we need to survive and be happy. Are we going to continue, or change? We also need to define the methods to change things or methods on how to continue what is good. Our purpose will come from definitions. Experience leads to definition or self, as well as understanding your behaviors. Knowing yourself will lead to your method of behavior for the future and help you to reach goals. Achievement of goals leads to a peace of mind and being happy. Really being happy. Otherwise you are living this surreal life. Or null. If you feel that you are really happy, then you would say your life is good/positive. Living a surreal life would lead you to feel overall bad/negative. This will in turn define your reactions to future behavior. You will react to life's chaos, created by nature or other humans, with learned behavior or genetic behavior. Those that learn, grow and become less ignorant, stop relying on only genetic resources, and can acquire new learned behavior that might work better the next time a similar event happens. This would lead to your social behavior with other humans. Your social behavior can lead to a better understanding of oneself/identity. And as we said, your definition or self leads to the behaviors you exhibit in order to acquire your goals and purpose. So, is your life good, bad, or null? Null would mean something like having no definition. What is life? You would be most likely a fence straddler. Fence straddlers have not found a purpose. So are you happy, or hungry for something better? Knowing yourself is the best way to answer that question. To learn more about yourself, that is, are you strong, smart, moral, easygoing, clumsy, goofy, friendly, abrasive, careful, etc., you might need to see what others think. You would experiment with certain knowns and have interaction with other humans. Next, Chapter 6, Self versus Others. Guggenheim Manifesto. Chapter 6, Self versus Others. As long as we are discussing defining self/identity, we need to understand the behavior of humans. We use others as examples to define certain truths/knowns. The behavior of others has its influence on ours. We, as humans, will compile information, categorize it, and try to file it in a partition in our brain/data bank. We tend to categorize others' identities and behaviors. What is positive or negative? Is there as learned? We learn and define certain truths through this social interaction. Then we start to identify if these other humans are too ignorant or bad/corrupt. Or, can this other human be considered experienced and good/not corrupted enough to help in defining ourselves? Is this person a threat/danger or beneficial? We learn from these understandings. Once we are able to see people's identities, we can then use the certain truths we know about experiences to better our understanding, and ensure that we don't fall into the negative actions of those we deem too corrupt/bad or ignorant. To understand what makes humans' identity, we know that they're learned and genetic behaviors. There are also genetic facts, such as body, health or intelligence. Humans have their positive and negative behaviors. Why do some of us behave so negatively in repetition, while others of us seem to be very social and/or ethical? Humans have neural pathways that start being built in the womb. Genetics can affect the structure of these pathways, as well as experience. If we build useful paths, to be used again, then we can grow, or build from them. Think of a railway that is good construction, and can easily be added to versus a poorly built one with little effort and degrades after a short time, and would be dangerous to add to, or flat out destructive. Many times, if you ride down the broken track, you will find a stopping point that is too treacherous to navigate, so you either go overboard or put it in reverse to try again. Hopefully, we would learn from the poor construction, or the negative path, that it does not lead to a good result. We could use that and admit that the construction was negative, and we can try a new path, built from scratch or venturing on one we have had positive reactions from. We do not want to repeat negative behavior, but if we are not aware that the tracks are broken, and then we may not fully comprehend the reason that this path keeps leading us to a negative. Learned behavior is like laying a new path. If you lied as a child, it may have worked to get what you initially wanted, but as you grow into a more mature social world, this behavior could become quite damaging and negative for you. So as we learn, we build new pathways. They say that after you read a new book, you have gained a whole wrinkle of new brain mass. If we do not learn, then we will continue to use a broken pathway, repeating it over and over with the same results most of the time, and that being negative, that is, a social reaction to a constant liar. Many that repeat this behavior end up becoming non-social people, or what most humans agree as dysfunctional. The late L. Ron Hubbard, known occultist, sci-fi writer and founder of Scientology, says that these are called engrams that cause us to repeat negative behavior. His understanding was that most reactions to stimuli that result in dysfunction are due to an event. He calls it an engram, as to be an engraved event into path-building history that was poorly constructed. Many times these bat rails are built from immature and or ignorant children. If they do not see a positive action, then they are left unaware that they are building their own negative paths. Many times this could be explained as maybe an abused child that grows up to be dysfunctional in a relationship. Psychologists try to delve into this subconscious pathway and define the broken path, and if successful, to repair this track, or to define it as a bad path to be avoided, if too serious to repair. There are those people that are negative, or having/creating trouble. Then there are those with the general knowledge of what's wrong, but not too worried about it, fence straddlers. And we have those that we deem to be role models, or people to admire. Healthy pathways are a three-dimensional brain/web of electrical impulses that trigger different responses. Once a positive path is discovered, you will most likely take that route each time a similar action occurs. An example might be as simple as, a man is polite to women, and he receives respect by his friends and peers, and feels good about himself. Every time that man has the opportunity, he would feel inclined to show his politeness. Now, if this man felt that his politeness was to get him a promotion at work, then he might only exhibit this at the office. His pathway leads to a result for certain situations. This may not be the most acceptable situation taken in observance by outsiders, but at work he is making rational decisions. Now if he had learned that being polite to women at work was considered to be too risky because the only woman that works there has a jealous husband, then he would know to behave accordingly. There are those people around us that have broken behavior and they are considered a threat to us in one way or another, or possibly just annoying, and we will learn to avoid them and to avoid their behavior. We start to really categorize this person, unless we see them exhibit new positive actions. If we learn new things about another person, it may change the way we understand them. A nice guy that lives down the street may seem quite healthy in his actions. Then one day you find out that he killed your next door neighbor's cat. You will have to refile this person in your head. You will have to reassess the knowledge you gained from your experiences with him, or those heard from others. We need to be aware that these paths will need to be relayed. This is quite possible. As we grow and live our lives, we either learn how to lay out our pathways, or we will be doomed to repeat mistakes. Many people that repeat negative paths are subject to living a surreal life. These people may never truly understand other people and why they act so different. These repetitive behaviors become all that they pay attention to. Inevitably, this type of person will seemingly be talking to a mirror instead of the person in front of them. All information either comes from the mass media, or from their own, albeit broken, thoughts. Those with healthy actions would be more inclined to be social and to be eager to learn new things from others. Chapter 7, Them. Now we have to address those that are out there that are knowledgeable of what is wrong, and still choose to behave negatively. The fact is that some may conclude that these are bad characters. The fact is that these types of people are either mentally unable to behave correctly, as in bad pathways that are unrepairable and need help, or they are willingly and consciously behaving negatively. The latter of those is what I will focus on. Those that we in a healthy society consider bad people and are harmful to the survival of our identity, individual, national or cultural, are categorized, and it becomes a known truth that this person is destructive to themselves and or others. We tend to know when someone acts badly. We also can be swayed to accept bad actions if we ourselves are conditioned to behave this way. So in a sense, what can usually be agreed on as bad behavior, that is, by politicians, role models, teachers, can in turn become accepted over time. We can all be exposed to more and more negatives, and lose the certain truths about acceptable social actions. Then we ourselves are being influenced more and more by this bad morale. This is when a culture like Rome ends up collapsing due to its dysfunctional identity. As humans that still have a good enough background in history to define, and maybe even redefine negative behavior, we should be quite capable of stopping bad people from affecting us. The problem is that those that choose to behave defectively are systematically trying to influence the rest of the population to accept it because it will allow them to continue in this conduct. They want the rest of the society to become as degraded in ethics and morals as themselves. Then they have no opposition to their deficient actions. There is no train wreck at the end of their pathways. They become freer to repeat these behaviors. And in return, the rest of the society degrades themselves. We are in a time now that the corrupt people of power are decisively implementing a pseudo-ethic into our cultures and nations. They plan to use their corrupted ideals to swindle, steal, manipulate and control anybody they can. They have willingly taken it upon themselves to hurt others. Now those fence straddlers are the easiest to attack with this harmful agenda. They already are idle, so it is not so hard to persuade them of this new pseudo-ethic. Once this population grow their acceptance of negative exploits, then people are not too harsh when the fence straddlers start to behave in this manner. After enough of this behavior is experienced, it becomes the new pattern of behavior. This is where I believe a lot of people are having a hard time. Humans want to feel accomplished. They want to feel a motivation to live. We all have a desire to know the purpose of our lives. If we are too broken and destructive in society as a whole, then those that chose this negative behavior have control. They are quite aware of why people become depressed, uncomfortable, antisocial and corrupted. They implemented it. Now they can seek exploits in their favor, and can play a guilt card on the rest of the confused society. Chapter 8, Reality. As many divisions have been made over the decades, there have been successes too. Yet, with any success comes more counterattacks from those that are threatened by the truth. The fact that many hide behind their persona or ego or whatnot, they are afraid, or threatened, by the reality of who they can be perceived as by others. There is the fear of judgment or persecution. There are those that know for a fact that what they are and the behaviors they desire are taboo and or immoral. They would rather not have anyone know their true personal business, because they would lose the power they feel they have over their reality. Maybe some are just fearful of this, as a teenager would be ashamed of some things they wrote in their diary, for fear of the same. As for me, I believe that there is some truth to the whole theory of reality is what you make of it. There is some need to explain my thoughts, as to define them. Imagination is what every child does as a part of growing up. Maybe even animals do this as cubs and such. We have the ability to make a world around us that fits our thoughts. They can be happy, scary, or anything else. As adults, we still have that ability to imagine the world a certain way. Almost as if you were to think of what other people thought about you. As to say, you would be using your knowledge of the world to define the reality around you. There is also the part where you have selective rights to this reality. If someone upsets you, we have the capacity to ignore them, or avoid them. We can, in essence, alter reality. We can forget chaos out there. There are many things that happen that we have no control over, but we have the control over how we perceive these events. We are able to choose what we think. As in, mind over matter. Meaning we make choices constantly about how we will react to events, and we get to learn or ignore. Choices are a very big part of the reality we each personally know. Of course, we still have a part of the biological makeup, which may give us certain behaviors. But we are still in control over our next action if we learn how to cope with any setbacks. The reality that kids experience in a time where all they do is watch TV and read books. This child is not creating their choices through imagination. They are, in a sense, losing their choice. They are letting a writer tell them the options, the outcomes, and the characters. The child is simply being programmed. They are not engaging their choice. The world we live in has many things that are hard choices to make. If you have not imagined this hard of a choice, then you are starting fresh with decision-making, at possibly an older age. It is kind of like learning algebra for the first time. We need to be creative with our options, as any business entrepreneur. Engage in your imagination, and be creative with your choices. I really believe that in a true sense reality can be what you make of it, or not. Chapter 9, Utopia. A place of ideal perfection, especially in laws, government, and social conditions. The word comes from the Greek not and place, indicating that the author Sir Thomas More was utilizing the concept as allegory and did not consider such an ideal place to be realistically possible. Rational, ethical, moral people living in respect and caring for their own. Sounds nice for some. Others could care less, don't believe in the idea, think it futile, boring, impossible. On this earth we will never experience this, for long, because there is always chaos from people that will fight or refuse to participate. We have those that want chaos to rule, so there is our stalemate. If we chose to understand a utopia/nirvana/heaven/Valhalla, then we will be that much closer to it. It takes knowing what we dislike about this world to define what utopia would be like. Yet, as we continue to live in this world of chaos, we will need to contemplate the idea. Reason is probably at the top of the list for peace. Emotions can take the best of everyone with a heart. Rationalizing your emotions is the most appropriate way to deal with them. Are we justifiably mad? Are we overjoyed and neglecting others? We need to have explanation for our thoughts and actions. Fruitless endeavors are just that. What is our purpose? Each of us has a fate/destiny. Some make their own, others let it lead them. There are those of us in between. To live a life worth living, we need to know why we do what we do. Do you drink a Coke because you find it better than lemonade? Or, were you persuaded to drink it because it's considered satisfying? Rationalize your actions, compare them to others, and make decisions based on objective reasons. Utopia is most likely something we could only acquire after this life. We need to experience the pain, joy, work, play, and make our choice for true freedom. Or are we just going to let chaos rule us? Lead your life, I'll lead mine. Hopefully we'll all find the same exit door and see each other on the other side. Many will deny this, fight this, ignore this, or simply never look for it. You can lose what you never found. Peace of mind.